Very good evening and a Merry Christmas to all our viewers. I'm Tina Jha with the news tonight. In the next half an hour, we'll be getting you all that's made news through the day across India and the world. Let's start with the top stories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi throws a Lahore surprise, meets Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif during a brief stopover. Nothing spontaneous about Modi's visit to Lahore, say Congress leaders. Party terms it a private trip, not in the interest of the country. Prime Minister Modi visits Kabul for delegation-level bilateral talks, inaugurates new Afghan parliament building constructed by India. Delhi's Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung triggers new confrontation with Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, calls inquiry panel appointed by government to probe DDCA case invalid. And the world celebrates Christmas with traditional fervour. Pope Francis addresses midnight mass in Vatican, calls people to shed consumerism and return to essential values. Well, the biggest news of the day first. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today sprang a surprise by meeting Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in Lahore. The seemingly sudden stopover, which came on Vajpayee's 91st birthday, immediately invited comparisons with the former Prime Minister's own bus ride to Lahore back in 1999. Modi later arrived in Delhi, where he was received by Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj.
A surprise stopover by the Prime Minister in Lahore. Narendra Modi ostensibly dropped by to wish Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on his 66th birthday on Friday. Sharif hugged Modi after he landed at the airport. The two Prime Ministers flew to Sharif's estate in Lahore, named Jati Umrah after his family's ancestral home in a Punjabi village in India. A close aide to Modi said the visit was a spontaneous decision by the Prime Minister and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Reuters quoted sources saying that it should not be seen as a sudden shift in India's position. The brief touchdown was the Prime Minister Modi's first visit to Pakistan. No Indian Prime Minister has visited Pakistan in the last 12 years since Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 2004. Commending the gesture, Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj tweeted that it was a statesman-like gesture towards a neighbour. Both Modi and Sharif met in Paris last month on the sidelines of the Climate Change Summit. This signaled talks between the national security advisors that were secretly held in Bangkok on December 6th. Some days later, Sushma Swaraj visited Islamabad for an Afghan conference. PM Modi is expected to visit Pakistan next year for the SAARC summit. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
So while the government saw a new radical approach to India's relationship with Pakistan, away from the media glare and political speculation, the opposition is not impressed. The Congress called the approach extremely casual, while left leaders wondered what will come out of it.
It is surprise, but some work should have gone into the planning is travel via Lahore and meeting Mr. Nawaz Sharif, and one should welcome it, and we hope this will further strengthen our efforts to resolve our vexed disputes.
मुझे उम्मीद है और उम्मीद थी कि प्रधानमंत्री जिस दिन काबुल या इस्लामाबाद जाएंगे तो लौटते हुए दाऊद इब्राहिम को और हाफिज सईद को साथ लेकर आएंगे। मुझे बहुत पीड़ा हुई कि वो केक खाने के लिए इस्लामाबाद जा रहे हैं।
I reject completely Shrimati Sushma Swaraj's claim that it's statesmanship-like. It was a spontaneous decision which was taken today. And I make this serious statement, and we have definitive information, it was pre-arranged, pre-discussed between the two prime ministers when they met in Paris, and what was never known to the country or to the Indian Parliament, for 1 hour in a hotel room in Kathmandu on the margins of the SAARC summit previously.
कभी-कभी स्वतः स्फूर्त मुलाकातें पड़ोस के रिश्तों को बेहतर करती हैं। नवाज शरीफ साहब के जन्मदिन पर वहां जाना एक दोस्ताना रुख की तरफ इशारा करता है। ये बहुत अच्छी शुरुआत है भारत पाक संबंधों के बीच।
Gift by our country and our Prime Minister to the world peace and to the region, and especially to the people of Jammu and Kashmir who have been looking forward to such an initiative.
Questions will be raised that what has changed with the relationship with Pakistan so suddenly that a Prime Minister of India is making an unscheduled visit, especially when he is visiting another foreign country. We will wait for the government to brief the nation.
The two countries can try to have a positive approach and work out a relationship that brings peace not only between them but to the entire region and therefore to the world. That is something that should be welcome. Obviously, we do have a troubled past. Our concerns are going to be those concerns. But if we do not make an attempt, something will not change.
And earlier in the day, before his Lahore stopover, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the Afghanistan Parliament shortly after he inaugurated the Parliament building in Kabul. The Parliament building was built by India, started in 2009. The construction missed completion deadlines at least 3 times since 2011.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday inaugurating the new building of Afghanistan's parliament built by India. Built as a gesture of friendship. The building was constructed at an estimated cost of $90 million. Speaking on the occasion, Modi said war-torn Afghanistan would succeed only if terrorist activities were stopped from across the border.
Afghanistan will succeed only when terrorism no longer flows across the border. When nurseries and centuries of terrorism are shut and their patrons are no longer in business.
Modi also inaugurated a new block named after former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Modi told Afghanistan parliamentarians that it was necessary to stop flow of terrorism from across the border without naming Pakistan.
We know that Afghan success will require the cooperation and support of each of its neighbors. And all of us in the region, India, Pakistan, Iran and others, must unite in trust and cooperation behind this common purpose and in recognition of our common destiny.
Modi sought the support of Pakistan and other neighbors in rebuilding the war-ravaged Afghanistan. India has played a significant role in the reconstruction and rehabilitation of Afghanistan. According to the Foreign Ministry, India's extensive developmental assistance program for Afghanistan now stands at around $2 billion. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And we spoke to former ambassador to Afghanistan, Vivek Karju, earlier in the evening about both the Prime Minister's surprise stopover to Lahore and his visit to Afghanistan. Listen in to what he had to say. All right, so for more on that, we're being joined by former ambassador to Afghanistan, Mr. Vivek Karju. A very good evening, sir, and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. First of all, we'll come to the Afghanistan visit of the Prime Minister later on in the bulletin. But first of all, let's get your reaction on the Prime Minister's surprise visit to Pakistan today.
Well, it is truly a dramatic development, but it remains to be seen whether it will have the desired effects. I think it's also in keeping with the Prime Minister's desire, as he expressed to the Combined Commanders Conference recently, that the Pakistan engagement is an attempt to turn the course of history. And finally, the Prime Minister does believe in personal diplomacy, so this is part of that. It's a good step, but it remains to be seen whether all institutions in Pakistan, especially the Pakistan Army, is on board with these developments.
But so do you think it's a progressive move by the Prime Minister? Because, first the NSA is meeting, secret meeting in Bangkok. Now the Prime Minister's sudden stopover. The party members have not been kept in loop. The External Affairs Ministry does not have much information. So as far as the media is reporting, do you think by doing this, the Prime Minister is changing the rules of conventional diplomacy?
Well, certainly it's an unconventional step. It's not known whether the Pakistani side had been sounded in advance or whether this was done fairly quickly. But nevertheless, it is designed to have an impact on public opinion. As I said, there are question marks. It may prove to be useful, or it may, again, depending on the reaction of the Pakistan Army, because the Pakistan Army and not Mr. Nawaz Sharif are the crucial decision makers of Pakistan's India policy. And therefore, it depends on how they react to this development.
But also, Mr. Karju, do you not think that, the Modi government has been very inconsistent as far as the relations with Pakistan is concerned? Because, first the Prime Minister invited SAARC leaders for the swearing-in ceremony. Then we saw the NSA level talks. Then they were cancelled. Then the UFA happened suddenly. And then again, the NSA is meeting secretly in Bangkok. The opposition, of course, terms it as a mere photo op. But do you think the government has not been very consistent? That's something very true.
I think, yes, there has been a back and forth on the Pakistan policy. Mr. Modi's instinct is, of course, as he said at the Commanders' Conference, to turn the course of history. But in doing so, there has been a degree, as I said, of back and forth. And now the course seems to be set. The only thing is whether this policy of engaging Pakistan to bring about a transformation in the relationship will really progress. Because, as you know, foreign relations and bilateral relations are not a one-sided affair. There has to be an interlocutor on the other side. The Pakistani Prime Minister seems to be genuinely interested in building a new relationship. But, as I said, he is not the final decision maker on this process in Pakistan.
All right, then, moving on to Afghanistan now, sir. Though all the action lies in Pakistan today, let's also take a look at what the Prime Minister did in Afghanistan today. Earlier in the day, he was in Afghanistan. What do you think are the major key takeaways from his one-day visit to Kabul?
I think this is a very significant visit for India's interests. The Prime Minister did well to stop over in Kabul and to hand over, or rather to inaugurate the new parliament building. I recollect that when I was ambassador in Kabul in 2004, President Karzai had sounded out the Indian government. In fact, he had called me in and had mentioned that he wanted India to build the parliament building, and the government of India welcomed that initiative of President Karzai. And today was a happy day that finally Prime Minister Modi inaugurated that building along with the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. And it is particularly heartening that one of the halls of the building is named after Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and it's called Atal Hall.
It's called Atal Block.
Atal Block. I think that's a particularly good thing.
Also, do you think, addressing the parliament today, once again, the Prime Minister said something which is very contrary to what he did later in the day, because while speaking in parliament, what he said was, that India's presence in Afghanistan, India's involvement in Afghanistan has certainly not made people across the border happy. Again, of course, a veiled attack on Pakistan. What do you have to say on that?
No, I think the Prime Minister was speaking the factual situation. Pakistan has always wanted to deny India any role in Afghan affairs. It feels very nervous with the Indian presence in Afghanistan, and it has always wanted to exercise a veto on Afghanistan's policy towards foreign policy, especially this policy towards India. So what Prime Minister was saying was absolutely true.
All right, Mr. Karju, many thanks for joining us today and giving us your perspective on that. Many thanks again.
Thank you.
With that, we slip into a very short break here. More news to follow on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're with the news tonight on Rajya Sabha TV. So the big national news now, Delhi's Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung has called the Aam Aadmi Party government's decision to appoint a commission of inquiry to investigate the DDCA case as invalid. Responding to the observation, Kejriwal accused the centre of misusing the Lieutenant Governor's office.
Another tussle between the LG and the Delhi Chief Minister. Arvind Kejriwal on Friday objected to letters from Najib Jung's office being leaked to the media. In the letter, the LG had questioned the legality of the inquiry panel set up to investigate the irregularities in the Delhi District Cricket Association.
अगर LG ऑफिस चुनी हुई सरकार के खिलाफ खबरें लीक कर रहा है तो मुझे लगता है ये बहुत सीरियस मामला है। इस रूल 23 में दिया हुआ कौन कौन सी फाइलें LG के पास जाएंगी। इसके अलावा कोई फाइल LG के पास जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। LG साहब कोई डिक्टेटर नहीं है। कमीशन ऑफ इंक्वायरी कौन बनाएगा, वो इसके ट्रांजैक्शन ऑफ बिजनेस रूल्स के शेड्यूल में दिया हुआ है, आइटम नंबर 13। कैबिनेट को और लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली को बनाने का अधिकार है, कहीं LG का नाम नहीं लिखा हुआ।
LG is reported to have told the Home Ministry that under the Commission of Inquiry Act 1952, only the centre and state governments can appoint commissions of inquiry. Since Delhi is a union territory, the Aam Aadmi Party government can order the inquiry only with the centre's concurrence through the LG.
Why is it that the Aam Aadmi Party takes decisions only in those areas where a confrontation is assured, areas where they don't have the authority? This only shows that their intention is to create a confrontation and create a media war so that they can be relevant. Otherwise, there are thousands of areas where they don't require the involvement of either the LG or the central government, and they can work independently.
The Delhi cabinet set up a one-member inquiry commission to probe the alleged irregularities in Delhi District Cricket Association involving Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. Jaitley has filed a case of defamation against Kejriwal and other Aam Aadmi Party leaders for linking him with the alleged corruption in the cricket body. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And on the weather front now, biting cold has set in northern parts of India. Leh was the coldest recorded place in Jammu and Kashmir. The residents of the national capital also woke up to a chilly Christmas morning with the minimum temperature settling at 6 degrees Celsius.
Cold wave tightened its grip further in Jammu and Kashmir. Minimum temperatures continued their descent, with Leh registering the season's lowest at minus 16.2 degrees Celsius. The bone-chilling cold froze up water bodies, including the Dal Lake. In national capital Delhi, minimum temperatures hovered around 6 degrees Celsius amid a thick fog.
यहाँ मतलब लकड़ियों वगैरह की बहुत दिक्कत रहती है। जंगल से सूखी लकड़ियाँ उठा के लाते हैं, जब बर्फ गिर जाती है तो कोई लकड़ी नहीं मिलती। ना यहाँ में कोई सरकार की तरफ से कोई सुविधा रहती है यहाँ पे।
ठंड, हवा, ऊपर से दिखाई कुछ नहीं देता, बंद हो गया बिल्कुल दिखाई देना। और जिस जगह पे हम रहते हैं ना, वहाँ पे तो आप चल ही नहीं सकते, मतलब आपको दिखेगा नहीं कुछ भी कि कहाँ जाना है आपको।
In Uttar Pradesh's Varanasi, fog threw normal life out of gear. Trains were delayed or cancelled due to reduced visibility. The lowest temperature in Punjab and Haryana was recorded at minus 0.3 degrees Celsius in Amritsar. Churu in Rajasthan was 0.4 degrees Celsius. Parts of North Madhya Pradesh recorded temperatures below 5 degrees Celsius.
मेन काम कोहरे का है और सबसे बड़ी चीज है, उससे सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये है कि ये जो यहाँ से आप लाइन देख रहे हैं, जो गोरखपुर लाइन है, ये सिंगल लाइन है। सिंगल लाइन में होने की सबसे दिक्कत ये होती है कि एक ट्रेन जब रूट पे चल रही होती है तो दूसरी ट्रेन को लोग स्टेशन पर रोक देते हैं। इसकी वजह से क्या, एक ट्रेन को पास करते हैं, दूसरे को रोकते हैं, फिर दूसरे को पास करते हैं, फिर तीसरे को रोकते हैं। इसकी वजह से जब तक ये दोहरीकरण नहीं होगा तब तो ट्रेन आपको लेट मिलेगी। हमेशा सर्दियों में तो सबसे ज्यादा दिक्कत होती है पैसेंजर्स को।
The Met Department said despite sunshine, cold winds will make weather extremely cold. As icy cold winds blow over the area, temperatures are expected to remain much below normal average. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And time now to take a look at what else made news across the country in our segment Nationwide. Former Punjab Pradesh Congress Committee spokesperson Sukhpal Singh Khera joined the Aam Aadmi Party today. He said he was disappointed with Congress President Sonia Gandhi's recent appointments of Captain Amrinder Singh, Ambika Soni and Lal Singh to new positions in the party. Khera was reportedly in talks with the Aam Aadmi Party since early this year. Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front Chairman Yasin Malik was detained during a protest against village defence committees in Jammu. 3 people were killed in the last week allegedly by members of the VDC, who are also accused of being the private militia of the National Conference. A Lashkar-e-Taiba militant was killed in an encounter with security forces in North Kashmir's Bandipora district. The security forces launched an anti-militancy operation following information about the presence of ultras in the area. A shutdown was observed in Pulwama town and adjoining areas in protest against the incident. As many as 70 Naxalites surrendered in Sukma district of Chhattisgarh on Thursday. The Maoists said they were frustrated with the Maoist ideology that promoted violence. It was reportedly the first mass surrender in Bastar in recent years. And moving on to international news now. Even as the Iraqi forces are making efforts to retake the town of Ramadi in the Anbar province, Islamic State fighters launched an attack to capture a district in the eastern Syrian city of Deir el-Zawr. US security forces also reported the recovery of documents that raise global concerns that the extremist group is trafficking human body parts to raise money. Here are more details on the story.
Islamic State fighters launched an attack to capture a district in the eastern Syrian city of Deir el-Zawr. A video posted on a social media website shows the terrorists were successful in their mission. The offensive included a violent attack that included suicide bombs in the Sina neighborhood. The video, whose contents were not independently verified, showed fighters preparing to seize the district held by Syrian government troops. In another shocking revelation, US Special Forces released documents that show how the terror group raises money. One of the documents relates to a ruling by the outfit that sanctions harvesting of human organs. It says taking organs for a living captive to save a Muslim's life, even if it is fatal for the captive, is permissible. US officials said the document, in the form of a fatwa, was among a trove of data obtained by them during a raid at an Islamic State hideout in Syria. The apostate's life and organs don't have to be respected and may be taken with impunity. Removal of organs that ended the captive's life is also not prohibited. US officials say the records give a deeper look into how the Islamic State codifies laws for followers. Earlier, the Iraqi government made claims of human trafficking by the group when 12 of its doctors were brutally killed by the terrorists in Mosul. In the light of the latest revelations, Iraq has called on the United Nations to examine the evidence closely. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And for more international updates, let's take a look at the global buzz. More than 100 people were killed after a gas tanker truck ignited a huge explosion at an industrial plant in Nigeria. The disaster took place in Niue, a predominantly Christian community in southeast Nigeria, as residents were rushing to refill their gas cylinders in time for Christmas. At least 14 people were reported dead after severe tornadoes hit across 6 states in the United States on Wednesday. Emergency declarations were issued in Mississippi and Tennessee, which were hardest hit by the severe weather. The tornadoes also complicated getaway plans for millions of Americans expected to travel over the Christmas holiday. Iraqi forces on Thursday liberated a number of neighborhoods in the southern part of the city of Ramadi. They also started a campaign to clear them out of bombs left behind by retreating militants of the Islamic State. The troops secured the vicinity of the Hay al-Dhuba district, which was captured on Tuesday. 25 people had been trapped after a gypsum mine collapsed in northern China's Shandong province today. The mine collapse also triggered a 4-magnitude quake, damaging the road and walls of houses nearby. While 6 miners were located by the rescuers, 19 others remain missing. And Christmas was celebrated across the world today with a lot of color and festivities. Pope Francis led the Christmas Eve Mass in St. Peter's Basilica, where he urged a return to the essential values of life.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one.
Carol singing, lighted candles and decorations marked Christmas celebrations across the world. Special midnight prayers were held at churches in many countries, from United States to Australia, India to Jerusalem. Pope Francis led the world's 1.2 billion Roman Catholics into Christmas. Addressing midnight mass, he urged those intoxicated by possessions and superficial appearances to return to the essential values of life.
In una società spesso ebbra di consumo e di piacere, di abbondanza e lusso, di apparenza e narcisismo, lui ci chiama a un comportamento sobrio, cioè semplice, equilibrato, lineare, capace di cogliere e vivere l'essenziale. In un mondo che troppe volte è duro con il peccatore e molle con il peccato, c'è bisogno di coltivare un forte senso della giustizia, del ricercare e mettere in pratica la volontà di Dio.
The service for about 10,000 people in St. Peter's Basilica started with the traditional proclamation of the birth of Jesus. The great bells of St. Peter's then rang out, and the Pope, dressed in white vestments, kissed a statue of the infant Jesus to start the Mass. In the West Bank town of Bethlehem, that is revered as the birthplace of Jesus, hundreds of pilgrims and Palestinians attend the midnight Mass at the Church of Nativity. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That's it from us in this news bulletin. But before we end, a look at how Christmas was celebrated elsewhere in the world. You picture this as we take your leave. Good night.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero.